Okay guys, here we are. We're gonna make the middle units. And the middle units of this final block are here. So they're between your corner units, all right? This is the center, we did that already. Now we're gonna do these middles, okay, right here. So this is sort of, I'm really proud of this block because it took me a really long time to figure out how to make this block with the Tucker rulers. And this piece was the piece that gave me fits. So I'm really excited to show you. And I really feel like it's kind of a culmination of a lot of things we've done in this whole block of the month. So what you're gonna need are pieces F, G, H, J1, J2, and K. Okay, F, G, H, J1, 2, and K. You're gonna need your Tucker trimmer. You're gonna need your square squared set of rulers. You're gonna need your magic wand and a friction pen, okay? And here is how we're going to put this together. So, first you're gonna take your F's and G's, and you'll have 2 of each, and you're going to make quarter square triangles out of F's and G's, okay? If you can't remember how to do that, we did a video in month 6 about quarter square triangles, and there are directions in your Tucker trimmer. Once you have your quarter square triangles put together, they're gonna look like this. And you're going to trim them down to 4.5 inches on your Tucker trimmer, okay? So that's what that is gonna look like. Next, you're going to take your quarter square triangles and your H pieces. You'll have 4 of these, by the way, okay? You start with 2 turquoise squares and 2 background squares. So you start with 4 squares total, so you'll end with 4 squares. You'll end with 4 quarter square triangles. You're gonna take 8 of your H blocks and you're gonna cut them in half, okay? We're square squaring now. We're gonna use the square squared ruler at this point. So you're gonna take your H's and you're gonna cut them all in half on the diagonal, okay? So that you get a bunch of triangles. You'll need 2 for each quarter square triangle. And just like square squared normally is, you're gonna sew your triangles on opposite sides. Remember, your dog ears should be, when you line them up at the machine, your dog ears, you want them to be approximately the same size, just like in your center unit. So you're gonna do those 2. Then you're gonna press your seams towards your triangles. Then you're gonna add the triangles on the other side and press your seams that way, and you will end up with a block that looks like this, okay? With all of your seams pressed out, nice and neat on the back, okay? And there are pressing directions in your written instructions. At this point now, we're gonna trim this guy up, okay? With your part A square squared ruler, and actually the best part about this is it measures the exact same as this unit did. We're basically doing this same thing over again with different fabric, okay? So we're going to use the lines. Where'd my piece of paper go? We're gonna use the lines for your 8-inch finished block on the part A ruler, okay? Same registration marks, and we're gonna line it all up. And Jake, why don't you come swing around over my shoulder, because it's easier to see how to line stuff up. Okay. I've got my registration marks in my corners, and I've got fabric just barely hanging over this bottom edge, but it's hanging there, and some here. And you can see that for whatever reason, this piece was either bigger or something. You can see how much more fabric there is on that side. But it doesn't matter. As long as you have fabric hanging everywhere, you can trim. Okay. Then we're gonna rotate. And we're gonna line up our edges on our cut edges and our registration marks in our corners. So corner, 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 there we go. Okay, and you should have 4 units that look like this, and you want to trim them all. Okay, so far so good. So far, easy peasy, right? Okay, here's where the rubber hits the road. Here's the part where I had to really figure some stuff out, and it was fun. Okay, what we have left are J1, J2, and K. All right, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our J1s and J2s and we're gonna sew them together to make half square triangles, okay? So poof, sewn together, TV magic, YouTube magic, okay? So I've got half square triangles. You should have 4, okay? Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut them this way. So we're gonna line our ruler up corner to corner, and we're gonna cut them so that each piece has some pink and some peach. I've lost my rotary cutter. Oh, thank you. It's like right next to the... Okay, so we're gonna cut that, okay? We're also gonna grab our K's and we're going to cut those. Okie doke. Now, lay this out. Your K's go here. And you want your picture from your directions. You want to lay it out so it looks like this piece, okay? The hard part of that is getting the pinks in the right spot. You want your pinks like this, okay? So the pinks are touching the blue, all right? Okay, now we're gonna sew this all together. So we're gonna hop on over to the sewing machine and I'm going to relay this out next to my sewing machine and talk to you about the correct order for sewing this on, okay? So I'll meet you over there. Okay, we're at the sewing machine and I don't know if it was laid out. Now I'm not sure when I was over at the cutting table. Make sure this, your turquoise triangles are this way, okay? If they were like this, I apologize. The correct orientation is this, all right? So on the top and bottom are your peach. These guys are on the left and right. Pink is on the left and right, touching these navy blue squares down here. Navy squares on the bottom. Now, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start by sewing this one on, and then I'm gonna sew this one on, and then I'm gonna press, and then I'm gonna do the opposite, okay? The hardest part of this is getting, what you want is the seams to line up so that it looks like one straight line here. And that's the trickiest part, okay? So what we're gonna do is there's no magic nesting thing here. The magic is simply a pin through my seam and into the corner of my, okay, and see I got that wrong because it's got to slide up, but at least now I know I'm in the right spot. So through my seam and directly into the X of my stitching. So I'm going to pin that. Whoop, maybe. I pin that, and then I'm going to get this lined up. I'm going to double check that my, actually I should have done this from this side, so I'm going to move my pin. I'm going to line up my raw edges and I'm going to sew. And you guys, this only comes out perfect the first time, about once every 4 seams, okay? Don't be upset or surprised. This is the fussiest part of this block, and you do need to be fussy if you want it to look good. If you don't care, then that's fine. So, okay, Okay, so that turned out great. My lines are, I'm very happy with those lines. And what you guys can't see is it's shop hop time, and we had some happy hoppers come in. So I went ahead and added this triangle while they were shopping. Okay, so that's what it looks like so far. So now we're gonna add the other 2 triangles. And again, we're gonna line this up the same way. We're gonna get our, I lost my pin, there it is. I'm gonna go directly through the stitching line where my 2 X's and my, excuse me, if you can see there's a little, can you see that or no? Yeah, okay. So that's where my pin is gonna go, because that's where I want my seam to line up. And I'm gonna stick it through the seam. Okay, raw edges together. Put my pin in, and now I'm gonna sew. The other thing I'm going to do is make sure I pull that pin out. See, and here we go again with the Megan hitting the cut button instead of the lower the presser foot button. When I get to my pin, I'm gonna pull it out because there's quite a lot of fabric there and it's making a little lump. And what happens when that lump goes under the, when the pin is in there, when the lump goes under the presser foot pushes it out of the way. So I'm getting there, so I'm gonna pull this out because otherwise the presser foot will push my fabric out of the way and it will not go through the right spot in my seam and make a bump. And we don't need that. I have enough problems. I don't need the sewing machine causing problems. So we're gonna check that and see. And I'm very happy with the way that lines up. That looks great to me. And you guys, I've made this block a bunch of times now. So the first several times I made this, it did not come out the first time, okay? That's movie magic, I think. The gods are with me. So now I'm gonna have trouble lining up my raw edges because... So don't be afraid to pull out, rip out, realign, use your pins, use your Wonder Clips, whatever you gotta do, okay, to get that stabilized and you be happy with the way it looks. This is your last block. Next month, we're gonna put everything together. So fuss at it, don't be afraid. You can do it. And again, I'm aiming for my needle to go through that place where all of my seams intersect. And that looks great too. Okay, so we're going to press our seams open and then to the side. Is out of steam. And then we're going back to the cutting table to trim this up. You again are making 4 of this block, this square. You're just gonna follow me this time. And now we need square squared part B. We're going to use the 8.5 inch lines. Okay, and again, I'm going to use my X's first. Get my X's all lined up. Everybody's lining up but the top guy. Okay, split the difference. There we go. X, 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 X. I've got extra hanging over my lines everywhere. So I'm going to give it a trim. Turn it. I'm lining up my lines and my X's. And we're going to trim that up. Okay, you do have extra here, but remember that's because you need your 1/4 inch seam, right, to come in there. Okay, so now this guy goes in the middle, these guys go in the corners, This is your middle. You're going to sew your top row together, your middle row together, and your bottom row together. Pressing directions are in your instructions, and then you're going to sew these 2 rows and then add on your 3rd one, okay? That's it. This block is going to take a little bit of time, but that's okay. Fuss at it, do it justice, make yourself proud, and next month is all about putting the quilt together. I guess that means I'm going to have to decide what it's going to look like. Interesting. There's 2 opportunities for entries, extra bonus entries in the prize bucket this month. I would suggest that you make samples of this block. It's not easy. You make a sample with scrap fabric, you get an extra entry in the prize bucket. If anybody wants to give me a rough sketch out of what they think this quilt is going to look like, you can also get an extra entry in the prize bucket, okay? I would love to see what you guys are thinking. I'm also really excited to share with you what I'm thinking. So we'll see you next month. Bring in your blocks, get entries in the bucket.